Welcome to another episode of Prepper Talk Radio, Ready for the Ready Minded, the podcast for the prepared. We are live on Facebook and live on YouTube, and we are going for it tonight. We're going to actually have some fun. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the movies, then things that have prepared us for maybe some things that are going to happen on July 4th. We'll see. Who knows? There's always hidden agendas, and we always get a chance to. Sometimes the elite will show us what they're going to do in movies or in what do they do? They do drills. They'll do drills, and they'll say, "Oh, this was just a drill. We wanted to see if we were ready for it." And then year later, 2 years later, the actual live event is identical to the drill that they had run. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff, see what we can do to see if we can come up with. But in the meantime, before we do that, thank you all for listening. Thanks for being here. Those of you who are live with us, thanks for being available. If you want to come be live with us every Wednesday at 6 Mountain, we're here. We're live and YouTube. And after you are live with us on YouTube, go ahead and watch a few more videos of ours, because we're looking to get our watch time hours up so we can get monetized on YouTube. So if you'll help us out with that, that would be fantastic. Help support the show that way. Frankly, if you're in a position where you can just you can even mute the thing, mute the videos on YouTube and just let them run in the background, that'll give us some watch time hours. If there's some older episodes that you've already watched and you've already been you already know about, then you can just let it run for us so we can get the hours. Anyways, check out our website, preppertalkradio.com. We've got a ton of great resources over there, recommendations. We've got some cool things, everything that you would want to probably do for preparing, and a discount for it. Usually the discount's Prepper Talk, but we have at Survival Frog, one of our good friends, it's Prepper Talk 10. And we have a really good opportunity for folks who want to maybe save some money on some health products that they have, and have an affiliate opportunity at our preppertalkradio.com/good life. So if you're interested in maybe saving some money on some great health nutritional products, and maybe a way for you to make money through an affiliate program, that's where you should go. You guys, we're excited to be live. And Scott, Shane, what do you guys, I know this was Shane's idea, so I know he's going to have some really good movies. And Scott was like, I need to do a movie marathon to get things going.
I tried.
So I'm excited to see what you guys have come up with.
So before Shane goes off the rails with where he was headed with this topic, I watched a couple of these movies. I read the synopsises. I kind of reviewed things because I'm like, dude, left field, but okay, perfect timing. And I had some weird thoughts, like some really weird, like, guys, you can't give me this kind of thing with my ADHD, alter ego, creative juices flowing. Like, okay, so Independence Day, that was one of the movies that Shane brought up. He also brought up Die Hard, 4th of July, whatever it's called. A Good Day to Die Hard.
Live for Your Die Hard, yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Live for Your Die Hard. And then I've seen Shane decided it was a good idea last night. I think it was like 12:30 to start popping off.
11:30, yeah, 11 p.m.
It felt later.
I'm usually long asleep by then.
He's popping off all
Shane's
these
up late.
Instagram feed videos of like, hey, there's these extremist groups in Texas and New York popping off, having a good time. They're gonna level everything. And the day before, I didn't send this to you guys because I'm like, I don't want to start anything I haven't validated yet, but I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they started putting up anti-scale barricades around the White House.
Yeah, I heard that.
And so I went and verified it. And so as I'm putting all this together, I read this quote that says, I believe they're getting ready for a new King's protest on July 3rd or the 4th, maybe. And another user followed up and says, yeah, when they break out the anti-scale fencing at night, it's never because they're preparing for a bake sale. That's usually code for some kind of announcement is coming, possibly with serious public blowback, a trial verdict, indictment, or legal action. Okay, so that's all going off in my brain. And then I'm like, movie marathon. I know I'm on a tirade. Movie marathon of Independence Day. And I was about to do Die Hard. I'm like, I just don't have time. I've got too much other stuff to do. But while I was watching Independence Day, I had this thought. And you guys can correct me if I'm crazy, which I probably am. But what was the main premise of that whole movie?
Independence Day.
Yeah.
Well, it's an alien invasion.
Okay. Do you remember at one point they're talking about Area 51 and the president's like, this doesn't exist. And the guy goes, well, actually, there was an alien craft that crashed. It is over at Area 51. We've known about it this whole time. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? And he goes, plausible deniability. And this idea popped off in my head. We've had a massive insurgence over the last 4 years prior of major what? Aliens coming across the border, illegal aliens, right? Different kind, outer space versus land aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also been in the news a lot as well. Even outer space hasn't been, especially even more recently.
But this thought hit, and I'm like, okay, we've had alien invasion happening for the prior 4 years before, with no desire to get rid of them, and so we've had all these insurgents, had all these other problem children showing up, and now they're ready to wreak havoc, right? So, okay, danger, Will Robinson. And then at the very end of that movie, how do they solve the problem? They implanted a virus in the alien ships, right? Cyber attack, but also what else could be a virus? We already had one pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, my brain's like going, I'm like, what else could this be? Like, are we going to hit the trifecta? Where is Shane trying to lead me?
Yeah, no, you're on the right track.
Go crazy with it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Die Hard was the other one, but on that same track is sticking with the kind of the news is and you've probably heard it. I've seen it all over the place in several different places. It's called the National Blueprint for Biodefense. One of their drills is a July 4th scenario for the Nipah virus. And that has a mortality rate of 72%. And you know where that comes from? Bats. You know where supposedly the last one came from? Bats. And you know what happened in Toronto just in the last few days? They have been searching for a man who was not bitten, but had in contact with a bat. So have you seen the movie Contagion?
Oh, yeah. I haven't. I heard about it, though.
It all kind of, is too coincidental, right? And I don't know if I believe in coincidences, but
Shane, you're killing me.
No, it's pretty great. Yeah, you can go Google this. Go to the Toronto. Oh, I've got it written down here. The Health and Human Services in Toronto is looking for a man who had been in contact with a bat, who was some other person gotten sick or something like that. Just kind of like the story Contagion, which the Nipah virus comes from bats. So anyway, it's just all coming together, right? FBI, I think Phil Tack said, FBI has put out a warning as well. And there have been multiple warnings in the weeks past as well. We've seen I want to be careful with my words here. Other countries declare not necessarily a jihad, but a fatwa, which, look up that word. It's kind of a decision. It's kind of a declaration on their beliefs, their scripture, whatever, that the Ayatollah, or one of the Ayatollahs declared. And there's just been lots of warnings out for terrorist activity and so forth around this weekend. It's just really, and then I was sitting down, got all those videos last night streaming in one after one that I sent out to you guys. I'm like, I am on pins and needles for this weekend.
Oh man,
yeah, an Outbreak as well. Outbreak's a good one. Minority. I mean, so many. And the word is, or the phrase is, the revelation of the method, right? We could talk about that, what that means, and why they do it in movies. What so many different ways. How the method of I've got so many things going through my head. I can't keep a straight thought here. And feel free to jump in. I'm just hogging all the time here.
Well, I want to read a quick paragraph from that biochemical biodefense thing, because one of our listeners sent it to me as well a couple weeks ago, and he says this is like under the scenario. This is the hypothetical scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It says, I call this first hearing of the joint inquiry to order. 9 weeks ago, some I think, and then this again is a scenario. This is not, 9 weeks ago, some nation or terrorist groups, we still do not know who, attacked the nation's capital and other U.S. cities with biological weapons as we celebrated Independence Day. The infectious agent that they used killed at least 280,000 Americans and infected at least 400,000 throughout the country in a single day, in addition to the 200,000 dead and 800,000 sickened animals. These numbers will increase as the disease spreads. Many of our own colleagues and staff here in Congress fell ill and died. Coordinated attacks in allied nations on the days that followed killed tens of thousands more. So that's the scenario. That's the hypothetical scenario that they're saying happened as this whole thing happened. But it's interesting that they, like you said, Shane, it's celebrated as they launched these weapons as we celebrated Independence Day, and that's coming up. That's
also one method that they launch these weapons is through firework type devices that could be interspersed in crowds and groups. I mean, that's kind of the way that we've been explained. This is the way it's going to happen. And if, of course, you go back to a certain event called 201, which happened in the fall of 2019, prior to some other big issue that ran.
Yeah, there was a big dance party with Rona.
Yeah, exactly. Dance party.
Corona. She was crowned to the queen of Rona.
Yeah.
Coronation Day. No, I get it. It's funny because, okay, I'm looking up now. You guys have to go what is this thing? What is going on? What is Nipah? Where's Nipah? Where's the Nipah virus from? Besides a bat, bats where?
In China.
That's what it says.
Dang.
And what kind of a disease is it? It's a zoonotic disease.
Animal and human. And then what did we have to worry about the last one? The gain of function research, right? That's where it comes from.
But it's this affects pigs, cattle, and I just lost my place. Pigs, cattle, as well as boars. Boars are pigs, basically. Why do they tell me that same thing again? But it can also affect other species as well as humans. So it's okay, cool. They're going to start culling all the pigs. We're going to have the bacon revolution of 2025. Sausage will be gone. Barbecue is going to be gone. This is speculatory thinking here, guys. This is for entertainment purposes where I'm going here with this, but it's going to be another use case for them to say, oh, we need to cull 40 million livestock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remove,
which they've been doing,
with unverified, unlab documented, unproven methods to test and say, oh, we found 1 in a million cases where the actual animal is sick. We're going to cull all of them nationwide, all of them within a farm or ranch, whatever. That's the logic and reasoning they use. And so, yeah, could it happen? I think it could. There's plenty of experience to say it could, but all this combined, do I think anything's going to happen this 4th of July? I think it's going to be pretty chill. I'll be honest. I'm not concerned for this 4th of July.
Yeah.
I do live I don't live in Happy Valley like you two do. I live in Adderall Canyon over here. It seems like everybody's medicated with something.
Well, you can call it down here too, right?
No, dude, Happy Valley is not Happy Valley for the reasons. It's happy because they're all on something, keeping them happy.
It's changed in the past decade or so, where it used to be true Happy Valley, and now it's medicated Valley.
Yeah. But yeah, I think what's interesting though is we've got so many different playbooks that have been opened through movies, through TV, because it's not news anymore. It's media. It's news media, right? It's all part of the CIA operations book. They utilize all those facets and factories to produce the narratives they want, to make us ingest as much of it as possible, to condition us to think the way they want us to think, and to be corralled mentally first before they can corral us physically. And as you wake up to that and start understanding that, it's you start questioning everything. And it can be overly taxing on your emotions and your mind. But if you also go back and as a gospel-centered person, I always go back to the scriptures. My best buddy over there, Isaiah, he's pretty clear in what's happening, when it's happening, and what's going on. Cross-reference it to Daniel, cross-reference it to Revelation. Like, you got a pretty good picture of what's going on, right? And where we're going. It's not pretty. And what I found is most interesting through all of it is like God doesn't like save us from it. Like, look at Daniel in the lion's den. Did he pluck Daniel out of the lion's den? Daniel got stuck in there. Look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Were they plucked out of the furnace? No, they stayed in there. But God was with them through it, right? God will help us endure what's coming if that's our road that we get to go down, right?
Yeah, here's something that Mike said here, and like you said, Scott, most likely nothing will happen this weekend. Why is that? Because they, of course, I use the air quotes, they are trying to create fear. They're trying to create chaos, and then nothing happens. And so what does that cause everyone else to do? Sit back and relax, like nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing ever has until that changes, right?
Which goes back to not necessarily living in high alert, right? But living in a condition of awareness. Things that don't look normal, things that look completely out of place, pay attention to those things, right? Don't put yourself in positions where you're vulnerable. Don't intentionally take your family to an establishment that you know is vulnerable to a certain rogue element, right? Like,
or a huge amount of public access.
Yeah. I mean, No Kings was relatively meh, right? And the LA riots have somehow disappeared off the news and solved themselves, right? All of a sudden, all the liberals who are like, leave them here, they find out about the terror cells and like, get them out. Wait a minute, we changed our tune. But what's interesting is in Salt Lake City, Utah, there was a death at No Kings. And we talked about it on a prior episode. But there was a gunman that came out with an AR, and I forget what they call themselves as civilian volunteer / hired gun, basically pew-pewed the wrong guy. Shot into the crowd, took out the wrong guy, hit the right guy eventually. That guy was taken into custody. But then another bullet they still never found. So it's like, be cautious, be aware, but still live your life. Things will get more heated as things go on. Things will get more crazy as things go on. Be aware and be prepared for that, but don't live in fear and panic.
Yeah, and and that's also why this movie theme, and TV show theme, comes up. Like I was saying, they want everybody to believe that nothing will ever happen, and then something happens when nobody's watching, right? And so
expect it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I look back at all these movies. It's normalizing conspiracy, like X-Files. I grew up on X-Files. I love X-Files. I have every single disc up here on my shelf here. I loved it. After the first season, I was hooked, and which I got my kids hooked, unfortunately. Now I don't watch it anymore because for the most part it's too dark. But it is another way for them to reveal their method. If they show on X-Files that there's a big conspiracy, like season 10, 11, which is the big conspiracy to kill the majority population on the planet. If they're shown on there, it's fiction, right? If they show it on TV, it's not true. It's not real. So that's how I think most people are normalized into believing that nothing's ever going to happen. They just sit back and do nothing. And so that's what I want to try and overcome here is, okay, yeah, this is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. This is the movie that, it's not real.
But it's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's why it's not ridiculous. Look at like Agenda 2030. Look at Agenda 2020. Look at all the different agendas and look at the World Economic Forum. And what is the language they use? We need to reduce our population because of a shortage of resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
That falls directly in line with these types of shows, right? And so if you listen to the narratives from these groups, you'll learn what their plan is it'll correlate with movies you've seen, with documentaries you've watched, with books you've read. Like the playbook's open. You just got to pay attention and do your due diligence to cross-reference.
Yeah, even TV shows, like I know The Last of Us is another TV show that was out there. And there was that one what was
Civil War
the
movie.
show? There was another show that was that was a movie. It's actually a movie called Civil War. And that was out last year. And yeah, I don't know. Hopefully everybody listening here was old enough to remember, but when 9/11 hit, they actually after it all settled and people were starting to see some of the patterns, there was I don't even know how many, but I know there was a lot where they would go back into different sitcoms, different movies, and they would clip out all kinds of things that were like, hey, we're trying that were related to that event. And letting us know that, hey, they've been preparing us for this potentially for a long time with different manifestations of the media. And one of the scriptures in the Bible is in Amos chapter 3 verse 7. It says something along the lines of, God will not do anything until he reveals it to his servants, the prophets. So that's one of the things that people don't realize, is that the devil uses the same set of laws. So if God has a law that he cannot do something unless he has revealed it to his servants, which he bound himself to that law. He said it in his own word that I won't do anything unless I reveal it first. That's the same, that now binds the devil and his kingdom and the enemy and their cohorts to that same type of law and principle, that if they're going to do anything, they have to first reveal it. And they use Hollywood, which, by the way, is the most prominent. When witches create wands and staves, they use holly. The wood from the holly tree is the most prominent thing. So there's a lot of witchcraft, sorcery, and magics. I know we're getting into a little bit of the weeds here, but or maybe some of the tinfoil hat stuff. But the reality is that Hollywood has produced all of these things because they want to reveal to the world what the plans are. Now, do they always get to have those plans? Heck, no, thank goodness, because God is in control at the end of the day. God decides what they actually get to do or not. However, if you watch those shows, and my kids, for a while, I was really into it. And my kids, whenever we'd watch a movie, even if it was like literally My Little Pony, like had stuff in it, like, and there's actually a new Disney movie that's coming out where this kid creates some kind of he creates all these symbols around him, and he like tries to summon the aliens to come abduct him or something like that. So there's
Elio.
I don't even know what that movie is, but it's recent. And so it's from kids movies, all the kids shows, all the way up to full blown, Hollywood movies. These guys are revealing some of the things that they want to do. They're showing us and preparing our minds for what they want to have happen. And God will say no or yes, basically based on what we do as people. And I feel like that's part of the reason why some of it is stopped, because the people wake up and we're like, hey, no, we need to, change our ways a little bit. And so God says, all right, well, I'll let that one go. I mean, just think of the city of Nineveh. I mean, they were ripe for destruction, and God sent Jonah, and Jonah was like, no, I want them to be destroyed. I don't want to go in there and have them repent, because they repented and they were saved. And Jonah was mad about it, but God's grace and mercy is greater than Jonah's, thank goodness. But that's so important for us to realize that all of these things, all of these agenda items that they have, if you go back through all of the great movies. So I'll end with this in my little rant here, my little section, is that a lot of the movies, like the disaster movies, where they have the earthquakes and the tsunamis and everything, all the disaster, destroy this. They have the one with The Rock was in it a couple years ago. And one of the things I feel like they do is they glorify the people who survive and the hero in the movie, so that all of us relate to the hero in the movie. So we're like, oh, it's not going to be that bad because we're going to survive just like the hero did. Well, they don't ever show that in the background, like the whole city of LA and the whole city of San Francisco was killed. Like millions of people were killed, and nobody seems to follow that line because it's in the background. because everybody's so focused and enamored on the hero and saving the day and surviving. And so everybody's like, oh yeah, if something does happen, it's going to be okay because we're going to be, and that gives us a false sense of security and a false sense of everything's just fine. It's going to be okay. We don't need to worry about it. And that to me is another part of the psyop that is wrapped up in this whole thing.
Well, you know, and I get a fair amount of my information from YouTube. And so as I'm scrolling through YouTube, it gives me suggestions. And so the suggestions that I was given were the movie Independence Day and Live Free or Die Hard. I think, again, another coincidence, right? Right before the 4th of July holiday. Well, again, it is 4th of July, so I guess that makes perfect sense. But it's also hopefully awakening people, or putting them to sleep, I guess, depending on where you look at it, to the possibilities of this weekend. Like let's go to Live Free or Die Hard. It's about a yard sale, right? It's about massive hacking and collapse of the banking and infrastructure and so forth. And we've seen and we've been warned that those types of attacks are going to happen. We've been warned by the CIA, by the FBI, by the authorities, again, I'm using those stupid air quotes, that these things are going to happen. And again, they have to cover themselves, right? They've got to disclose something. Hey, well, we told you, you just didn't listen. It was all over the place, but you were too busy, entertaining yourself in TikTok and shorts, right? Like I was doing last night. But I don't know. For me, it's just all coming together. Hopefully nothing happens this weekend. But at some point, something will happen. And will you be awake and aware and prepared? Because they're just trying to put us to sleep, trying to get us to believe that nothing will ever happen, nothing will ever change, while they do their fulfill their agenda in the background, in the darkness.
What's interesting to me is you were fully doom scrolling.
Totally.
It wasn't like they say doom scrolling is like when you're just scrolling for never ending nothing, right? But this was actually doomsday scrolling. What's phenomenal in our world and in our day, Jason made this comment earlier. He said he never thought he'd see the downtick of the pride cycle. It's also the whole idea of like hard men make good times make weak men make hard times, right? And then the hard times make hard men. And so that whole cycle as well, like we're in the hard times are about to be completely unfurled upon us. But if you do look and cross-reference things, and if you do take a minute to think about it, we are at a crossroads where we are not able to see truth from lies because of things like deep fake technology, because of things like the fake news and all the different things that they're doing. Like we had a president of the United States for the last 4 years where over 2 of them, he was incapacitated for the most part. And there was an auto pen. Did you guys follow this at all?
Yeah.
There was an auto pen signing all of his documents. And one of the people who was the most, heavily available in the White House was the prior Democratic president. Barack Obama's security card clearance went through all the time. And so you're like, okay, who really was running the show? Right? What kind of deep fakes and what kind of nonsense are they playing behind the scenes? And it's not just in movies, it's in real life. And we are being defrauded on many layers and on many fronts at the same time. So the question is how do we know if something's close or if it's real or if it's fake? Because it's fun to look at these movies and go, yeah, that could happen. Well, actually, that's scary, but like the reality is you could look at it and poke fun and not expect anything, but then all of a sudden something happens. And like Paris said, it's like most likely we're all the background characters who get torn apart in LA when the aliens come, right? In Independence Day, a single attack took out more than 40% of the world's population. It's a movie, and they were aliens, right? But those big population centers, they could be gone. So how do we really know what sources to trust, but what reality is really real? I don't know how else to say that in a better way. It sounds kind of goofball now that I've heard it, but how do you know it's really real? What's true in what you see?
Well, again, that's part of the agenda is confusion, confusion and chaos. I don't know that we can really know a lot of the answers to a lot of those questions, right? I think I find myself confused on a regular basis, like what is going on, and I think that's what they're trying to do. You like, for example, you see Trump say one thing, and then the next day he says completely the opposite. Like, and that's just one simple, maybe stupid example, but that is all over the place, flip flopping. And I think that, of course, I'm going to continue to say all the world's a stage. Everything we see on the media is scripted and it is on purpose. And so whatever confusion, whatever you're feeling because of that is on purpose. So if you acknowledge it, recognize it, then maybe you can counter it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Field Tech mentioned the Truman Show. That's legit.
Yeah, that's another one. It's like you don't know that you're in the show until you hit the wall at the end of the world, right? You hit the end.
Even the Lego movie has a little touch of that in it.
Yeah.
I love that show. Lego movie. That's a good show. Well, then there's Elysium too, right? There's more and more talk about Elon Musk's and I'm blanking right now on he has one about giving people their sight, and I forget the name of that company, but it is part of or an offshoot of his brain chip. What is that called? People remind me.
Oh man,
blanking here. Anyway, that's all going to be integrated into AI and
Neuralink.
There we go. Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's the beginning of Elysium right there, right? And beginning of the Matrix. That's how they develop that kind of technology. No, I don't think it'll ever get that far. I don't think God will ever let it go that far. But it's if it's not setting off red flags in your mind, if you think it's normal, like this is just the normal progress of the day, which unfortunately it is, but it is not normal. No, we should not be going down these roads, even though, this is going to do good. This is going to be good for this person or that person. It's going to do a lot of good like AI. I won't touch it. I see nothing good coming out of AI. Sorry. I don't know if you can convince me otherwise.
I found a really cool picture that I made with AI. It was fun. That was good. That was about it. Everything else is garbage.
Pretty freaky pictures.
Yeah, the videos and stuff that you see, like it's demented. It's weird and twisted. But like, what's interesting, going back to Neuralink, like the first patient received his brain chip recently. Like I think it was in February of 2025. And he's quadriplegic, and he's now able to control a computer with his mind. Right. So, and going back a few episodes ago, I talked about how the best surveillance companies in the world all belong to Elon. Think about it. What is Tesla doing? It's gathering information on how you drive, where you drive, all the areas surrounding it. It's got 8 cameras on it. It's gathering more data. It's the biggest data scraper on the road.
Yeah, well, and if you think about with regards to those vehicles, self-driving vehicles, there's that Willy, what was that show? The robot?
Wall-E,
and all the humans were overweight. They couldn't walk. Their bones were completely just, mush because they would just sit in those self-driving vehicles all the time, going everywhere. And that's how many people have health disease, heart disease, diabetes. All these major health conditions are so rampant, and Americans in general, predominantly Americans, are so overweight that it's ridiculous. I mean, you read all these places that, and Wall-E was predicting, in my opinion, programming anyways, whether it was predicting or not, it was programming us to kind of accept that lifestyle and say, hey, that's okay. I mean, I hear so many people that go travel across the country to other countries. Like one guy was on, he's like, why can I eat a loaf of bread in Italy, but I'm totally gluten intolerant in America? And it's because there's an agenda in our food, and to get us to the point where we have to be reliant on all these health issues. And so that's all part of that whole process too, is just, how many they actually ran. And this goes back to the movie Singularity, right? Or even the Matrix. But they ran, I was watching, I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody ran a bunch of scenarios where the AI was told either you shut down and die or save the world. And the AI every time chose to kill the human race and save itself. That was the models that they ran, like that I was watching these guys saying, and I don't know how many scenarios they ran, but they said they ran multiple scenarios where they were like the AI was self-preserved and let the humans die off.
Of course, every creature, right, natural, wants to preserve itself. And so if it's artificial intelligence, it's going to have the same desire, innate programmed desire, because who created it, who programmed it? People. So that desire is going to seep in from their programming into what it is. And it's funny because there's a couple preppers online that they're like, oh, guys, the best way to prep now is to use AI to help you know what to do. And I'm like, no, don't. Here's why he thinks it's brilliant, because he's like, I've tested it and it's given me better scenarios and better ways to do things than what I'm doing currently. And I'm like, dude, you're feeding it. You're telling it exactly what it wants to know and needs to know to be able to capitalize on that information for other parties that are of nefarious intent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the biggest security risk that people have, and they don't think about it. They're like, oh, if I share it with a computer that doesn't know who I am, nothing matters. It knows your IP address. It knows exactly where you are. It can connect your devices in your home. All these smart home features are all internet connected tools and devices that are gathering data on you. And they've already shown us that they can use your thermostat and they can use your TV to identify where you are with heat signature in your own home and track your exact position. What's funny is they used that technology in the movie I just watched, Independence Day. He used the same technology to track and find someone's location in the building, utilizing cell phone data and the security system of the White House. He hacked it all to find out. And he knew exactly where she was. And I'm like, dude, we're living in that place right now in society where all those access points are available and they can get it.
Yeah. Okay. So here I want to read this to you guys. I'm going to put this comment up here if I can find it. Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not touching AI. And Phil Tack and I are same page there. Let me read this verse. This is 1 Corinthians 3:19. For the wisdom of the world is foolishness with God, for it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. I think that, for me, says it all right there. And I will post that here in the chat as well here. Click. There we go. So when we rely on the world and the wisdom of the world, we're not relying on God, and we will, I won't say we be punished, but we will not be blessed for relying on the hand of man over the hand of God. And I think that's what this is all about, if you ask me.
I mean, you could even go into like even shows like Wakanda, or Marvel shows where they show this exoskeleton that strengthens the humans. And how many robotic exoskeletons now are we trying to create the super soldier? If they have robots that are trying to do stuff, but they also have exoskeletons to give to humans to make them better, stronger, faster, et cetera, et cetera. And there's, even what was it? Aquaman had all these direct energy weapons in Aquaman. And so now we're learning more and more about how the military has direct energy weapons and all these other things that are going. I mean, they make them laser beams or whatever for the movies to have visuals. And in real life, there's really nothing you see. but it's just still the reality of, hey, let's go show a movie. Let's get everybody prepared for this new technology. And whenever I see a show that's got massive technology and you're like, oh, that's coming. No, it's already here. They can't release it yet because the populace is not prepared yet. Number one. Number two, they still got to make a bunch of money off of us on all the interim products between now. Like, do you think that, like, what did they have now? The iPhone 75,000? Like, you don't think they had that technology several before the iPhone 10? I do. But they wanted to make money on us all the way from 10 to 11 to 12 to 13 to 14 to 15. You know what I mean? And they wanted to just kill it and get all of our money from us until they could finally release what they had. And I still think they have, I bet you they have iPhone 25 already ready, but we're only on iPhone 17.
Well, and you also have to think about, like, okay, what's available to us versus what's available to military contracts, military use, and the three-letter agencies, right? What they have versus what we have. We have nothing compared to what they have. And what they have can capitalize on everything we have. Like, that's the scary thing.
They even come out with cover, like, even going back to Return of the Jedi. What was the one where the Ewoks, they went to the Endor moon or whatever? They had those hovercraft bikes that are out there. I've seen, like, actually they have them in real life now. They have those similar. They look like they're drone pilot. Yeah. They have the propellers. They're face down, but they're long and skinny like a motorcycle, and they have the little things, and they can propel you. And there's even and the other one too was the Spider-Man movie years ago with the Green Goblin, and he had that thing that you could, the drone thing, hoverboard thing. They have those now. Like, maybe Hollywood inspired some inventor. No, it was preparing the world for the things that they were already planning to bring out. And yes, of course, there's going to be some people that are not involved in the elite programs that are come up with some ideas and maybe some better ways to do things. And they kind of, I think in some way, they're kind of hoping that's the case, because they're like, look, we believe, the elites are saying this. I'm saying that the elites are saying, we believe we have the best minds on the project, but let's put some stuff out there and see what happens. And then somebody else pops up. I mean, how many times have we watched a TV show or a movie where what was the kid? There was a couple movies recently where there was kids that played video games, and they did so well in the video games that they were recruited by the CIA or some major agency shows up and says, hey, how did you find the secret room on level 14 of game whatever, And they're like, I don't know, I just, was clicking, and so they're like, okay, you're the kid that's going to find the way to get these, whatever. And so now and I bet you that stuff's happening in real life. You know what I mean? So it's just everything, like you said, Shane, is all the world's a stage, and it's a show, and they're preparing us predictive programming.
Have you guys heard of Julian Brown?
I might have. I doesn't ring a bell.
He's a young kid. He's figured out how to turn plastic waste into different types of fuel. He can make jet fuel, unleaded, and also diesel fuel through his gas digester system from plastics. What's interesting is he's doing everything visibly and everywhere, but this shows you where we are with things. Like, he's creating a better way to do things, to actually reuse things, and there's already been attempts on his life. Mm-hmm. Someone rigged his system to explode and try to kill him, and he survived, and he came back bigger, better, stronger, and did a huge PR tour. But it's like, those are the things. It's like, there's always going to be people trying to keep us sheep and flocks, right? There will always be those types of people, but we've got to continue to be creative. We've got to continue to be innovative and find other ways to do things, so that we don't have to rely on the systems that control us. That's why he's building this. He's like, he designed this thing so it can become a household component for people. They can have one in their backyard and be like, oh, I'm out of fuel. All right, I got some gas. Let's go on a road trip, right? Mm-hmm. Just saved a whole bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to my own fuel. Like, what? I don't know, like something. And we're all sitting here. We watch the news. We watch the TV. We watch and read books. Like, you were talking about the video games. Dude, there's no better example than Ender's Game.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking about. That's one.
Wrote this book, and it's about this kid in space, and they program him and teach him and train him, and this kid Ender thinks he's playing a video game, but in reality, he completely destroys an entire alien civilization, and that destroys him. He's just like, "What have I done?" Right? We're all being used for someone else's purpose. The most important thing we can do is align ourselves with God, stay aware, and stay in as safe of places as we can. And Rebecca, you brought up another amazing one, Dr. Parkenstein. Same issue. He's recreated a lot of Tesla stuff, like Tesla coil systems and energy transfer. He did an experiment where he was able to transfer energy that he'd created in, I can't remember what town he is, across the world wirelessly. Like 500,000 kilowatts transferred instantaneously through the earth to another part of the earth. Like through this other guy built this coil system. Like he's done some amazing things recreating Tesla stuff, and he keeps being put in danger. And they're just like, he's like, if you watch his stuff, it's really, really fantastic, and just you would not expect it from these two kids, like what they're doing. But it's amazing.
I was just going to say, there's I was watching an interview with Catherine Austin Fitz, and she actually was going through this whole. She was discussing how there was this corruption in the government in her department she was over with in the HUD, and there was this money laundering, basically this money printing deal that the government was running. And she says, "Have you seen the movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith?" She said, "I was Will Smith in real life."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was attacked. Yeah.
The other one was there was a show on The Sopranos, some kind of show that was there was an episode of The Sopranos where it was basically the same kind of thing, like some conspiracy in the government. And she's like, somebody called her on the phone and said, "Hey, I'm just watching The Sopranos here, and they're saying the same thing you've been trying to tell us about what's been going on in this show." And she's like, the lady finally believed me because she saw it in an episode of the show. It was just kind of funny. And so the reality is it's happening, and it's there, and it's not just from one source, it's from several different sources.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
So what other movies you got, Shane?
Oh, I got a long list here. Well, of course, there was a Civil War movie. I didn't see that. There was the Leave the World Behind. I didn't watch that one either. I mean, Blade Runner, those types of movies, very impactful, right? I mean, Tron, those are Idiocracy. I mean, that's a little bit off this path, this agenda.
It's pretty close. The dumbing down of America is one of the biggest things that, like, I used to be in the higher education industry, and it was during my bachelor's degree while I was also working for a college that I read the book Dumbing Down of America. And by comparison, a 8th grade education 100 years ago is better than a college education today.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And this was back in 2000, I think 4 that I read this. An 8th grade comparison is better. An 8th grade education is better than a college education today. They have intentionally been manipulating our educational system to dumb us down, to make us factory workers, to make us compliant, right? And so we've been abused, and it's been absolutely intentional, right?
Mm-hmm. Part of the overall agenda, and it's is a very big, wide agenda. And so, what can we do about it? So, yeah, maybe to close up, what can we do about this, right? Fieltac and I are chatting on the chat that we've got to stay off of like Google. Have you seen? That's another thing I saw last night. A whole bunch of shorts. How when when parents would say, "Hey Google," the kids would freak out and hide and get scared. Have you seen that? Dozens of videos about that, and I had never heard about that before. But everything we do, and my little chat with Fieltac here, is being watched. There's nothing that I trust, and so, and I mentioned this before. My strategy is to be the gray man. You have to be again, my opinion, somewhat part of the system, and yet do what you're going to do, right? Do your prepping. And that's, everybody's got to have their own strategy how to do that. I don't know if it's entirely, I don't think it's entirely possible unless you do like maybe Field Tag has done, completely unplugged from the system. That's not possible for me to do in my, conditioned state right now with family and so forth. So I'm working on I'm consciously have my own, I guess you could say, steps that I'm doing to be in the world, but not be of the world. Right.
Your exit strategy.
And exactly. And have an exit strategy when the timing is right. And I'm still continually working on that. I don't have a solid plan yet, but I'm developing it. So all the world's a stage. AI has probably already passed the horizon, right? Crossed the horizon line. If I'm saying that correctly, I don't think so. I think we're in a lot deeper than
we realize.
That's being disclosed. Those types of things. I don't believe anything.
Well, if you think about what was Ant-Man? Ant-Man was the movie that talks about the quantum realm, and now they're coming out with all these quantum computers that can do in 1 minute what yesterday's computer took 10 years to do. And they also have the what was I going to say too? The
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse. I don't know.
Oh no, there was that show Loki, where that guy was
multiple timelines.
Yeah, the multiple timelines and all over the multiverse, and then we have CERN, who's trying to find the God particle. They're popping off over there, and they've been able to open up portals and see beings, and it's like, what are you guys really doing? You're tearing at the time-space continuum, as they say, or whatever that whatever it is. But the reality is they're doing these experiments. When you think about it, when you really get into some of the rabbit holes, and you can actually see, oh, that movie kind of told us about that, or that movie would told us about that. So,
and they don't match 100%, right? They're just
the movies it's like the scriptures. The movie is like a parable. Like God is telling us a parable. He's telling us an analogy, a story, so that we kind of get the message. Those that have eyes to see will see, and ears to hear will hear. The same thing is true with the enemy, and what they do is they show a movie, and those with eyes to see will say, I get it. I see what you're doing. I'm picking up what you're putting down. And so, in my opinion, when you watch a movie, be entertained. Enjoy the entertainment. Quite frankly, it's phenomenal, some of the stuff they come up with. But the reality is have the message. Don't let the message go in one ear out the other. Have the message that you see in the movie kind of hit you and say, okay, I see what they're doing. I see where they're going. I see what they want to. I see what their plans are. Whether or not they get to do them or not, that's up to God. But I see what the plans are. And then just kind of prepare your family for it. The one thing that once I saw all these things in my the videos and shows my kids were watching, I would always say, hey, that's Illuminati confirmed, and they would say, Dad, everything's Illuminati confirmed. Like, yeah, you're right, it is. That was kind of our joke. That is this show Illuminati confirmed? Yeah, that it is. That right there was part of the agenda. That if you really dive into the deal. So it was. I don't tell my kids not to watch that stuff. I just want them to be aware of it, so that when it comes, they're like, "Oh, Dad was right," And so that's all we can do at this point. I think maybe there's more we can do that other people have as had revealed to them. But in my opinion, all that I can do is make sure that I'm balancing whatever I do in the world and overcoming it with what I do in the spirit, with my spiritual progress and growth. Like it's okay to. I tease guys all the time at church. I'm like, hey, seems like you know more about the football team than you know about the the book of John or whatever. So like, make sure that we're balanced. Make sure that we know the things that we should, and then also it's okay to still kind of have while we're still in mortality and on this earth, we kind of have to have a little bit of a foot in the world while we also have a foot in heaven. And so that's what I would say.
Well, I'm kind of both of you guys. My final thoughts are this: like, yeah, AI, aliens, Alexa, and all those things to me are very much it's all one thing. They're presenting it as technology and artificial intelligence, all these other things, or aliens from space. It's all demons. It's one group. That's what it is. You can try to debate me on it, and I don't care. I'm not going to change my perspective or my stance because I've dealt with it personally. Like, I have firsthand knowledge. But I'm not going to let that drive where I live my life, how I live my life. I'm going to still focus on my relationship with God first, protect my family at all costs. And what's crazy is we can, like Shane, you said you want to live in the world, but not of it, right? We can live a perpendicular life to society.
Good point.
Right. A parallel life to society and not be in the same, we can be along the banks and not in the cesspool, right? And you can turn perpendicular when you need to.
Yep.
Right. But as soon as you wade into that water, as soon as you get to where the water is even up to waist depth, to turn perpendicular and get out of Dodge is going to be too impossible, because you'll be already being sucked in by the riptide. And so remember that, like, keep yourself in the world, but not of it. Keep yourself parallel so that you can go perpendicular whenever you need to. Keep yourself aware and awake, right? Keep your head on a swivel, and don't get sucked into the scrolling. Don't get sucked into like everything that the world's trying to tell you and convince you of. If everybody's saying it, be leery of it, because the opposite is what's actually true. And Barack Obama did a speech recently. He's like, all we had to do was tell it to them enough that it would change their mind. If they were hearing it from every source all the time, 24/7, they would believe it. And then all you'd have to do is tell them the truth, and they would laugh at you and say that you're an idiot for believing the truth. And that's what they've done.
Yeah.
That's what they've been doing for who knows.
They gaslight you.
Yep.
Hard. Well, thank you. No final thoughts after that?
That was mine.
Good. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being on the show with us. Hit the like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel for those that are on YouTube. And for those that are on Facebook, also hit whatever's over there, like. And if you're clearly following our page on Facebook, so that's great. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, for the comments, for the interaction. One of the funnest parts of going live is having people to interact with us, that we can show their comments, talk about what's going on, and see what you guys are talking about. I think you guys have more. Sometimes the side conversations in the chat are like super cool and amazing. So I love that you guys are developing a relationship with one another. I make sure that you take time to create a plan. Be aware. Don't be caught off guard. Listen to this episode again if you need to. But please stay ready-minded. You've been listening to the podcast for the prepared, the podcast for the ready-minded. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.
See you next week.